Hey guys, welcome back to Chris and Retro. Tonight's video is going to be one of those videos I'm going to really do my very best to stay on track. Sometimes I get on rabbit holes a little bit, but it's chock full of a lot of information. What I want to do is make sure that I share some perspective. And the perspective tonight is going to be on what recovery looks like and feels like. And the really primary target, the two primary targets in here that I want to discuss is the first objective is for those that are looking towards somebody in recovery, what does it feel like and look like, and get a sense of what that looks like. And then also I'll share from the outward lens, from the person that's going through certain things, to try to relate to you as a fellow traveler and hopefully provide some encouragement with some suggestions for how to help in these circumstances. And so I'm going to get into that. First thing, I want to do a couple announcements. Tomorrow I'm going to be recording a guest, very good friend of mine, Kayla Lala Ross. She is a incredible friend. Probably will, she could out sarcastic me 2 to 1 probably. So I think you'll really enjoy her. Great sense of humor, great, remarkable story. And I was able to catch her when she had a free moment. So we're going to get her on the show tomorrow and just do a little chit chat, talk about a recovery journey, and some pretty cool things about her. And you'll definitely walk away from that with some ideas on how to do this thing a little bit better. So hope you enjoy that. Also, please don't forget, I've got some support with Reaper Apparel Company. Use ambassador code. So go to reaperapparelco.com, promo code AMBA, AMBAS 20. It's an ambassador program. You can get some discount if you use that promo code. It also shows back that the show is helping promote what they're up to. They've got a great program. It's more than just apparel. I have some of their stuff. I got one of their hats. It's great. I got a t-shirt, great material. I think it's something you'll really enjoy. However, their mission is larger than that, and they have a program called the BND Challenge. And that program, once you go to their site and you sign up for it, they'll send you the challenge, and it's something you can do every single day. I've considered doing that with you as a community. I just haven't had the time to organize it, but to do that challenge every single day. But it's great. It's a prescriptive process for how you approach your day every single morning, and might reframe how you look at your days and help with your mental health. So go to reaperapparelco.com, use promo code AMBASS20 when you're making your purchases. Gives you a slight discount, and we'll also come back to the show here and help us keep advancing what I'm trying to accomplish here. So with that, I want to get into the subject matter tonight. And it's been apparent to me that we put too many blanket statements on the recovery journey and the people that are going through it. I think oftentimes when we're trying to support somebody in recovery, even in the, from homes that don't really know what to do with recovery, and also the legal systems and the, support systems, it's almost like we just want to throw somebody in an institution as soon as we possibly can get them in there. And then that's that. Great. Okay, here we go. We're good. Person's in, they made it to rehab, or they made it to a halfway house. Yay. They've been in there for 28 days. Yay. Well, it doesn't really work that way. And then all of a sudden, I think a lot of times people outwardly looking in, I know before I really acknowledged the fact that I was an addict, I was an alcoholic, I would have looked at that and said, okay, well, they're in this program and it's going to make everything better, without actually understanding what's going on. I can assure you this, that when somebody finally makes it to a program, that is good news. Okay. It's very good news, because what's happened is now that their decision-making is being controlled by a program that still is voluntary. But if they've decided to go and stick with the program, they're going to get through some of those early stages of bad decision-making that might have them go back out. At the same time, many of the programs, if you spend the time looking at it, and if you go to shatterproof.org and you look up their Atlas, ATLAS website within the shatterproof.org program, it's a great database to show you what treatment providers offer what, so you understand where to put your loved one or your friend or whatever to help them find a bed and find longer term treatment or whatever treatment that is that they need at their stage. But looking in it, with a lot of times we just plot people in these programs and we expect that's going to take care of it, but it's not necessarily. So when they stick with their program, they get the medically assisted treatment they need, and they start to get themselves more stable. It varies how they're feeling based on the institution they're in. And from my perspective, it varies based on whether you're in a jail versus a rehab versus a halfway house versus supportive living. They all have a variety of different challenges that come for somebody in addiction. And with whatever addiction you have, it's a vastly different experience as well. Also, if you're a male or female, also, if you happen to be pregnant, all of these things can have wide ranges of differentiation about what your perspective is as somebody that's struggling with addiction. So it's not enough for those that are quote unquote normal to send their person into a rehab facility and say, oh my God, thank God, here we go, we're all done. And then if it doesn't work out, it's also not okay to go, oh my God, you suck. You went to a program, you didn't figure it out, and you're still going back. This is not how it works. And what I'm hoping to do on this show is to give you a glimpse of what it feels like. I guess tonight I'll probably focus a lot on the rehab and the halfway house because that's something we're dealing with right now. But rehab, you first go into a rehab facility, and the first couple of days you're not really there because a rehab facility typically is going to detox you for the first several days, and probably up to 7 days at times, maybe even more, depending on how serious things are. But if you're an alcoholic like I was or am, and you go into a rehab facility, they're detoxing you on a benzodiazepine of some kind, and you're going to be just kind of out of it for the first couple of days. So you're really not working anything. You're not getting new progress. You're just getting medically stable. And those are what I consider to be the better versions of rehab. So now you're in there. Now the old days was okay. 28 days was the program, and that's how it worked. That's actually not how it works. And then for me, it didn't work that way either. So the first 2 weeks you can be there if you get a bed, but depending on your insurance, you're evaluated every week afterward. So you might not even be there the whole 28 days, even though you went into a 28-day program. Flip side, nowadays, you could be there much longer. And it really depends on what gates are you passing for this initial phase of your recovery. Are you getting the initial treatment you have to start working on the behavioral modifications that you need to work through? So as a person that's struggling with addiction and you get into a rehab, really depending on your mindset, where are you at in terms of your willingness to be here? Were you forced to be there, court mandated? Was this a willing, were you at your rock bottom, so to speak, and like you just couldn't take it anymore? Or are you an expert rehab person that this might be your 16th or 30th? I mean, I was in rehab with one person who had been in long-term rehab facilities almost 30 some times in varying degrees by 55 or 53 years old. So, sometimes people are pro at rehab. So just getting in an institution clearly is not doing the trick. So let's just say that your person successfully goes through rehab and they find themselves into a halfway house. Well, the halfway house first starts with a lot of restrictions, but you have certain accesses and freedoms that you did not have in the rehab facility. So once you got through detox and you got through the other programs, now you're reasonably sober chemically, but now you can start working on the behaviors. So you probably were getting some education on some behaviors early on in rehab that you had to go into and try to figure out a modification for. So now you found yourself a halfway house bed. And in that halfway house, you have some strict requirements that you have to do. For many, that's very difficult because now this is your first freedom. And this institution, you might think you're still trying to feel out where you can be a little slick yet. Cigarettes are a big problem, vapes, all these things. You can find ways to be slick. If you're not serious about recovery, many people can still use in these facilities because they have time that gives them a little bit more freedom where they didn't have it in rehab. In a halfway house, you do have a half hour here, a half hour there in the first couple of weeks. So let's just say you behave yourself and everything's working good. Now you move into more freedoms as time progresses, depending on how long you're in this program. But what does it feel like? Is everybody happy? Well, on the outside looking in, we're saying, oh my God, it's so good. You made it through your first treatment part of it, and now you're into a halfway house. That's progress. Well, that's true. That's good news. The fact that you did not leave and you're still in the program. But for the person in the program, they're probably the most sad they've ever been. Because the very thing that's taken away for at least a moment or two, the pain of their trauma, the pain of their life, the thing that as the pile of dumpsters on fire has grown through their use, they haven't had to face it because every single time they look and they go, oh my God, it's getting worse, and they go use and hide. The very coping mechanism that they've learned and need to deal with all the bad things, this vicious cycle, is now gone. So now for the very first time for many people, they are now facing this full on with nothing. And the outside expectation is that, oh my goodness, now they recognize it's their fault. They recognize they're the reason that did all this stuff, and they're getting a lot of mandates on them. Well, now you're beyond your substance use, so you should be back to normal. It's just not how it works. It's not how it works, because many times the reason that we're there in the first place and we need such rigorous treatment is because we have very ingrained behaviors that need to be worked through. And many of them are recognizing the inventory that has to happen is with us first. We're going through that pain by the time we're in a halfway house that's so great. We feel so demoralized and like life is passing us by. We're not on any heavy substances and we're not being medicated to deal with anything. We're on our normal medications that are prescribed by a physician or a prescriber. And now we're faced headlong with our resentments and we can't do anything about them. Our amends and the things we feel bad that we've done and we can't really do anything about them. We have torn relationships and friendships that we can't do anything about, and family relationships and parental obligations that we can't be part of. The world around us feels like it's going by, and yet we're an institution doing great. We're so proud of you, but we're not feeling it. We're feeling awful and worse than we felt, because the very thing that got us there is the very thing that we've learned that we need to be okay. But outsiders looking in are going, wow, she's doing really good. She's making progress. And the legal program is going, well, we're reporting back on, Chris's progress, and he's doing quite well in rehab. And I'm sitting here thinking, I cannot believe life has come to this. What was I thinking? How did I get here? How did this happen? And over and over and over again, you're dealing with it, and you just look forward to going to bed so you can at least have that be your way out for the day. Then you move on. So now you start to get more freedoms, and all those old behaviors are now being tested. All those old contacts. I heard somebody in recovery, actually it was on this show, Taylor, she said how, she didn't even have a phone for the first, I almost think like almost a year. What a great plan that is, because all the people that had your number that would be reaching out to you and tempt you don't anymore. And so, I encourage people to get a brand new phone number when you go into programs, because it'll eliminate some temptation. And I think it's got to be a top priority. The people that are not harmful to your life, you can give them your new number. But the ones that have your number, it doesn't matter what number they have. They can always reach out to you, especially in the drug population. So we're here and we get more freedoms, and those tendencies may not be healed yet. So for us to heal and get the tools to move past them, we're going to be tested. And some fail and some win. And here's the other part that's really tough, is that even in the NAs and AAs, if you have a reoccurrence, you're back at 24 hours, you screwed up, you're right back at ground zero. And God forbid you have a reoccurrence for the legal system, and now you're, oh my gosh, they're never going to get better, penalize them. Or for a family, it's like, here we go again, they're doing it again. When in fact, the person that's going through these programs has been tested and may have failed, but will be tested again. And what we need to do is make sure that they pass the test the next time with the tools they didn't have the first time. And that's the whole point of these rehabilitation programs, and why they ease up in supervision over time, because we want people to be tested and we want them to use the tools that they now have. And that's why it's so important for you, if you're struggling right now and you're in a facility and you are feeling all these bad things, take the time to build your toolbox, because you're going to face the temptations that got you there in the first place, and you have to pass them this time. If you fail, you'll go right back through this whole thing again, or worse. Your past is very much available to your future if you don't get the tools in your toolbox right now, right where you sit. It's a must. And for all you people that don't have addiction that I've been helping you understand up to this point in this video, for those of my friends and my fellow travelers that are in a facility right now and you're feeling horrible and you just want to get out, please take the time to take every tool that you can get and get it in your tool bag, because those temptations that you once faced, that you made the wrong choice on, you will face again. And you have to be equipped to walk past them, through them, around them, over them, whatever. And now is the time. So you never have to go here again. Supportive living is another step that you go through. And with this, you got a lot more freedoms and people have more access to you. What a scary place to be. Most times you're there because you've lost everything and you really don't have anywhere else to go. But let's just say you didn't lose everything and you go back to your home life. Well, there's damage there. That's a new stage that's got to work through some bad interactions or some healing of those puzzle pieces that are now going to have to come together, that at one point in time were really just a mess. That's another stage we're not prepared for, but the outsiders are coming in and going, oh, it's coming home. I don't know. We'll see. And those, for us in addiction, we get so sick and tired of hearing advice from people. It gets exhausting because everybody's got an opinion. I don't know if they all have assholes, but I assume they do. That's what they tell us. Everybody's got an asshole and an opinion and an asshole. Well, sometimes a lot of assholes have opinions too. But we here, everybody's got a reason why they want to invest this great knowledge into us so that we get better. And we're just like, enough is enough already. I'm trying to sort through this. I'm doing the best I can here. And with that, that's a struggle as well. So we're trying to navigate and find our lane to find a community that keeps us safe and healthy. And especially for females, it's super tough because now you've got the stigma about you that you're easy. So you go into a group and the group's got a bunch of men in there. I can't tell you how many times Sam has gone to an AA meeting and had somebody hit on her, knowing full well that I'm with her. It's just, it's craziness. But you've got that too, this distraction where you've got to have boundaries that you really just don't want to have to deal with. You just want to go and get better. There's that. So here's the context and the feeling of it all. We're saying, rehab's great. Well, it is great. It's better than the alternative. You're still running and gunning. It's better than the alternative you're still using. You are building the tools. If you, as the person in recovery, actually take the tools and aren't so frustrated with your current circumstances, you just spend all your time focused on getting out. Focus on using the time in the most rigorously possible so that when you leave the door, you took every possible knowledge and tool you could possibly get in this awful time so that you never have to go back. That should be your focus. That every single thing that you can learn and take into your soul, when you walk out that door, you are now more equipped to face that temptation that will come than you were when you walked in. I couldn't possibly ask you to do anything more than that because that's what I had to do. That's the only thing that I found successful in those programs. So how do you help? As an outsider coming in or as a fellow traveler? I just got done picking on you guys for giving people advice. I'll pick on me for giving advice. I'm giving you advice right now. You probably don't want to hear it. We hear advice from everybody. So now what? So how do you help? Well, hear what's being said would be the one thing. So as I just before I got on this call tonight, I reached out to a friend of mine. I've been asked to do a speaking engagement at the end of September. And I knew of a friend that we try to do things together in this recovery work. And I reached out to him to see if that was something he could do. And I've come to find out he's having some challenges tonight that he has to work through. So having conversations with him about that. So what is my role in that? Well, as a fellow traveler, I just need to hear what's being said. Recognize this too. Our exhaustion from the advice we get, we want to be respectful a lot of times of the people that are willing to actually have a conversation with us. So sometimes we'll just play along with the conversation just to get through it and survive it. And you might think you've given the greatest nugget ever for us and we're going to get better because of it. And then when we don't listen to you and don't follow you, then you get frustrated and write us off. I think listening is the most important thing you can do. And recognize that if you want to plant a seed of advice based on your own personal experience, we receive that well. If you're in a situation where you said, you know what, I had this struggle and this is something I've learned through that struggle. I don't know if it's something that's going to help you, but I found it helped me. So I'm just going to let you know it helped me. That's far more effective than saying you've got to do this, or you got to go do that, or you must do this, or you've got to do 90 meetings in 90 days. And you've got to, go to a church and you've got to not go back to your spouse and you got to do this and whatever. Man, we've already got mandates all over the place. We also know that there's some change has to happen, but sometimes we're kind of working through whatever that is for us. We have all kinds of stuff that trips us up as we go down this journey. Rehabs and these programs are very beneficial and they're great to be part of those programs. But I think our expectations about what's actually going on, love needs to be invested in people that are going through recovery and are in programs and in institutions because they don't feel like society threw them out. Because the quickest way for somebody that's addicted to go back out in the streets again when they're done with all this stuff again and do the baffling thing of reuse is to feel like while they were there, nobody cared. That's the worst thing you can do. So in terms of how to help, make sure your loved one knows they're loved and cared for while they're going through this very hard work. You'll give them the energy they need so they can build their tools. Jail is something I did not touch on, but jail is a completely different animal. Limited access. You're locked up. You're around people you can use because there's very prevalent use in jails and prisons, which I don't think anybody is shocked by anymore. And so it's a very opportunity-rich environment. And on some of them, culturally, it's very difficult to abstain from a lot of bad behavior when you're inside an institution like that. So that is a different animal altogether. And a lot of times it's saying, well, they got what they deserve. They shouldn't have done that. Well, that also is not the right thing to do. And so what I would say is that the best advice out of all of this stuff is to listen to what somebody's saying to you, but at the same time, try not to enable where you can, but just let people know that they are loved, cared for, and rooted for, and not just a one-off here and there when you're feeling good about it. The consistent pattern of always showing up stands out, because I've been on the side where there was very few people stayed in touch with me, very few. And but those that did, I will always remember, and they helped pull me through. In my home, in my life, I have somebody that I've made that decision that I will stand by this person for now until for wherever. And despite what seems to be a very motivated world to split us up, which I know exactly what that spiritual component is and why it's happening. In fact, I'll give you an example of the spiritual component today, and I'll close up with this. But over the last 2 days, I've had a very frustrating situation happen. I've got a person in my life. His name is Tom, and he is an instigator like you would not believe. And he always does it behind his keyboard, and he does it behind by having conversations with other people. But he never really addresses people unless he calls you on the phone. But people that he feels are formidable, he won't address face to face. But he's very threatening and problematic, and likes to make accusations of people that are basically spewing out what he is, but he likes to put it on other people. And he's targeted me on a number of occasions and tried to mess up things with Sam and I. And he's done that over and over again. And he did it again recently out of absolutely nowhere. And in fact, leveraged a video from 2019 that was me talking about all the miles I walked and how I was learning. And that sometimes the only move I can make is the very next step forward. So there was nothing about this video that should be sinister, but his view was I was fraudulent because of who I am as a person. So anyway, that view, this person, Tom, was putting me in a place where I was starting to think about things in the old Chris way, where I was like, I'm going to deal with this situation. I'm done with this crap. I'm sick of this person doing this all the time. I've let it go long enough. I'm going to address this. And for me, that's actually very unhealthy, because I address them in the wrong ways. And so this morning I'm going to Walmart and I'm picking up a mattress cover. And on the way back, I'm with this Uber rider that I've ridden with before, and he's a really nice guy, and we've hit it off in our conversations. Kind of, you could tell there was some connectivity, and come to find out he's a person in recovery. And we have, because he said, things that's helpful in my life is a fellowship. And as soon as I heard that, I knew that he was in AA. So we had this conversation about AA, and he's come to find out he's got his chip up. Actually, I didn't even see it in his visor, and he's got multiple sponsors. I thought that was great. And we had a great conversation, and he was really encouraging. So I've got this one detractor that's starting to pull me back into this mess of my old behaviors, and has been an antagonist and actually a problem for our home for a very long time. And then all of a sudden I get the other side of it, another person that's in recovery as well. And that person was an encourager. And guess what his name was? Thomas. So I got Tom and Thomas playing both sides of the recovery journey. The reason I bring that story up is because we also have the spiritual component that we're dealing with in recovery. We have all these circumstances going on. And so for me, I talked about the fact that we would have these tests, and we have to make sure we have the right tools. Well, I can tell you, have I not been so invested in my recovery program, I would have acted in a poor way towards the first Tom. And because of the recovery program, I was able to handle that correctly. And on the flip side of it, I was encouraged by another Tom. And to me, I found that not to be a coincidence. To me, that was my higher power, God, specifically showing me that I just got to stay the course. And he even gave the same name. He even knew the same name of the person was going to be showing me the other side of both of this stuff. And really what it boils down to is what? Well, for me as a person in recovery, I have to accept life as it is. And the most important thing is not what's going on around in me, but the work I have to do is what's in me. So whether people are treating me well or bad, it really doesn't matter either way. The work that I have to do for my home and for me and my recovery is me, on me, and everything else will work itself out. So when we have people that are in institutions and things like that, they're doing rigorous work for them. So please, one of the steps that you can do is make sure that you're encouraging them and realizing this is not just some miracle. It's work that has, sorry about that, I had an alarm go off. It's work that has to be done by themselves in many cases. So the best thing you can do is love and support. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I know it was a little longer video tonight. There was a lot of nuances. I was trying not to go down a rabbit hole with this thing too much, but I had a lot of points I want to bring up on it, because I think that we really do oversimplify what happens for people in recovery with these programs. It's not just a whitewash thing. It's a real struggle for people, and emotionally they're now raw. They have nothing to lean on, and many times feel like nobody loves them anymore. I got a person that's going through one of these programs right now. And if she's watching this, I love you. I love you very much. And I've got you all the way through. Guys, please like, subscribe, comment. If this is something you think is going to be beneficial to somebody, if you're in recovery and you've got people around you and they don't really understand what you're going through, share this video with them. If you're a person in recovery and you're struggling and feeling like you're disconnected and disenfranchised and people don't want anything to do with you, or all those resentments are coming up and you can't do anything about, I would encourage you to take this time, buckle down, and get every tool you can get to build your life to be what you were made to be. And this is not pie in the sky. I'm living proof that you can get there. Take all those tools. You are going to be tested again. Just because you went through a rehab and just because you got good intentions doesn't mean you'll pass that test. What will make you pass that test are the tools that you gather while you're going through what you're going through. Make sure your toolbox is full. So when you walk out that door, having completed the program, the next time that challenge comes in your face, you're going to go, you know what? I got this, because your training prepared you for that fight. Guys, thanks for tuning in. And between now and the next time we talk, I'm going to do every single thing I can stay out of trouble. And I hope you do too.